Hello, friends. Welcome back to Hard Truth. Got a few topics to talk about today that are really bugging me. One of them is the constant whining from Trump and Vance about all the criminals that we're just opening the gates to on our borders and let them flood in, which is a total lie. And it's so hypocritical of Trump because, he's a felon. 34 felonies. He's a criminal. And I don't know if that ever sinks into you
Would you call Buddy and tell him I'm on my way?
avid
My dad has my phone.
mega people.
Alright, thanks. Love you.
He is a criminal along with all of his other unpleasant traits. And we've really got to take a hard look at the way we're running our government and our elections and everything else, because somebody like Trump to be the president of this great country that I love so much is absurd. He's not even qualified to be a dog catcher. That's how bad that guy is. Daddy gives him millions and millions and parlays it through crime and lies and fraud and more lies into fortune to us, but it's not the fortune. His president in second command, Musk, he's got plenty of money. But please, friends, don't ever forget that Trump is a criminal convicted of 34 felony counts. And only because he was the previous president was he able to slither out of jail time up to now. But I have a feeling when the other party takes control here in the next 4 years, that Trump is going to see the inside of a prison. And he richly deserves it, because he is a despicable human being. But enough of Trump. I'm so sick of Trump. I was sick of it in the first 4 good years that we had to go around with him, but this is just too much. It's up to our Republican friends in Washington to do something about this criminal, this felon that we call President of the United States. And we used to think of ourselves as the greatest country on earth, but we can't say that anymore. Not when we elect criminals, felons, to the highest office in this country. It's just absurd. He's a criminal. He's a felon. Please, 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 get it straight. And when any of your Republican buddies try to tell you he's not a criminal, you can tell them, okay, if you stick to that line, you're a hypocrite. But one of the things about Republicans that I don't think a lot of you understand, those of you that paid attention in the civics class will have some idea of what I'm talking about, and it's the Electoral College, which was written into the Constitution as a compromise between the northern and southern states. Because the North had a much greater population in 1787, when they were writing the Constitution, the Southerners were afraid that they would be overwhelmed in whatever new government they came up with. This is all an experiment. I mean, this is this is something that's earth-shaking. But the Southerners, the rich landowning Southerners, were terrified that the North would just overwhelm them in the new government with the population age. But to assign the number of congressional representatives to each state as counting as one in the Electoral College. Now, obviously, states like California, New York, and Florida, and Texas, they do okay as far as the House of Representatives. Every state just gets 2 senators. And that can actually be a problem. When you have a state like California with 330 million people plus, and they get 2 senators, we get 2 senators, and 54 representatives. That's a little bit more fair as far as political representation goes. But if you look at a state like, and I'm not picking on North Dakota or Montana or Idaho, but when you have whole states with populations that in some cases are even less than 1 million people, they get 2 senators and at least 1 representative, even if they don't qualify according to the constitutional criteria to be a House of Representatives member. So it's grossly unfair when we've had at least 5 elections that went beyond the election and were settled by the Electoral College. And even though Biden got 7 million votes more than Trump did in 2020, and Hillary Clinton got more votes than Trump by 3 million at least, because of the Electoral College, Trump became president in 2016. And that was the beginning of a huge joke on America and a great miscarriage of justice for the American people. So the thing is, in my opinion, I'm a bit of a historian. I taught history for over 20 years, and I've studied it all my life since I could make sense of reading books, which I still avidly read. We need to do a better job. I think there are parts of the Constitution that could go to a convention of the states and rewrite the parts that don't fit 2025, the parts that were written in 1787, because obviously there's been a world change since then. Our framers had no idea that this union between the states would grow and become as large and powerful and influential in world affairs as we did. We were the key in 2 world wars. Without us, who knows what the world would look like these days. And we have spent a lot of American blood to keep other people besides ourselves free. I know I participated it myself in it in Vietnam, which was kind of a really squirrely deal as far as the politicians go, but nevertheless, combat is not fun. But We owe this country. We really do. I mean, we could do things like other countries do, like most of the Western European countries and Israel and other places. They have representation that makes sense. My thought is that if you have a state like Montana with a population under 1 million, there's no way they should have 2 senators and even 1 representative. It's just not right. It's not fair. Not fair to the people of California, New York, Florida, and it goes on and on. If your state has more than 1 million people, they're getting shafted. So there are parts of the Constitution that could be rewritten and drag it into the 20th century, 21st century, and make it more relevant, because the Electoral College is a weapon. It's not democratic at all. It's a gimmick that was written into the Constitution in order that the Constitution be born in the United States, be born. So the Northerners gritted their teeth and agreed to this compromise. And it wasn't the only compromise. But to me, it's the most critical one, as history has turned out. So there is things we can look at with our Constitution. They could be, I think, tune it up would be a better way to express it. Not change it fundamentally. Not get rid of the Bill of Rights or anything like that. We could even keep the Second Amendment in some way amended form, because the Second Amendment is morphed out of recognition to the framers. They had no idea that America would have 330 million people and that they'd have more guns than people. I mean, that's absurd. But anyway, we need representation that makes sense. And that means that if we're going to gauge representation to population, the House of Representatives is going to have a major overhaul. And it's going to have to be debated that some states don't deserve 2 senators. You know, they could write in a rewritten constitution that each state gets at least 1 senator. But representation that makes sense is what we should be after. And there's no reason why we can't recodify the Constitution. I mean, the creaky thing's 250 years old. And as great as the Constitution is, it's not perfect. So Jefferson wanted a more perfect union. Let's make a more perfect Constitution. And one of the critical things, besides getting radical MAGA out of our government, and they are radical, as you're finding out, and it's not just the price of eggs, although that's ridiculous. I mean, none of Trump's promises have been kept, and they can't be. But one of the things that's really critical is getting money out of our politics. Prohibit contributions of over $100, even from the giant corporations. And believe me, that would smarten the politicians up right away. That would force them to reconsider what they're doing and maybe actually make themselves appealable to the American public. We have some representatives in California that I have a great deal of confidence in. But I don't know all 54 of them. I just know the ones that represent us up here north. And there's some pretty good people. And we've had Republicans, and still do. Lamothe is a glaring example for Northern California. It shouldn't be dog catcher, much less a representative in the House of our great country. So we gotta get money out of politics. And there's gotta be a strict limit that any one man can spend, or woman, can spend in a political campaign for office. It's just, it has to be done. Because the sums of money that are being spent now, it guarantees corruption. It guarantees we're gonna put people into Congress and into the bureaucracy even that are corruptible. It's, you know, what Trump and his sycophants are up to now, including Vance, they're trying to smear the immigrants. We're all immigrants, or sons and daughters of immigrants. It's just absurd. Trying to paint them as murderous criminals and rapists and thieves. That's just not true. There's no general, gentler, or friendly people than Hispanics. It's just, it infuriates me when they try to smear an entire race of people. It's absurd, not fair. So we got to get money out of politics. We got to figure out a system of how much each individual candidate can spend. The maximum size of contribution for political office can be. We need to make more sense of what we're doing. I have no influence on the political theater because I'm not filthy rich. That doesn't make me any different of a human being. I hate to say it, than Trump. Although I think I'm a much better human being than he is overall. The guy is just what a scumbag. We gotta get him out. And I don't know, in these off-year elections coming up, if we take back the House and Senate, you know, maybe we can impeach his dumb ass again. Okay, that'll do it for this time, and I'll see you soon. And this is old Mr. Yates giving you the hard truth. Let's do something about making this the greatest country on earth by far. See ya.